look at a different way to write quadratic equations. As you can see on the screen, it does look a little bit different from what we've seen before. This format has three main components that we like to look at: the values of a, h, and k. And each of these values does something to the graph of our parabola. And the best way we can learn about these values is get a chance to explore it ourselves. And so in this activity, you get that opportunity to see how each of these values can affect a graph. And so the way we've done this is we have a story to go along with our situation. It doesn't take too long to go through, but in each scenario, go ahead and read through the story. It's going to tie into something that we want to look at. But we're going to look at a graph. We're going to call him Norm. And Norm is always going to look like this. He's the equation y equals 1x squared, which is this parabola right here. We see it has a vertex at 0, 0. And everything is going to be based off of this graph. And so what you're going to do, and it looks like it's going to take a while. The slides go pretty quickly. But what you're going to do is you're going to read through the story. And then what you're going to see is each slide is going to have you investigate one of these values of either a, h, or k. And to help you out here, each slide is going to have that first graph that we saw of y equals 1x squared. But then you get to see how different values can affect it. So in this case, we see a situation of y equals ax squared. And there's a slider here for a. And so what I can do is when I start moving this slider, I see an alternate graph appearing. And this graph has an a value of -1. And so this blue graph that we're seeing right now, the slider is indicating that I have a value of -1, and that's for a. And so this equation would be -1x squared. And so I can move my slider to see others. If I move it here, I see the blue graph has now changed. This one has an a value of -6. So this blue graph has an a value of -6 in front of our x squared. And so that particular graph would have an equation of -6x squared. Oops, I already had the x squared there. And there we see it. We have this new graph that's right on top of the blue. And so the slider's purpose is to show you how different values of a here, in this case, they're all negative, can affect our graph. And that's going to be the story of the whole exploration. You get new information and you get to try something else. So in this case, it's a very similar setup, and all the a values are positive. And so each time, go through, explore it a little bit. Don't go so fast that you don't see what's truly happening here. What's happening right now is our parabola is changing based on the value of a. And when you get an idea of what's going on and getting a sense of what the equations look like, you'll get the opportunity to write a couple examples down here. And that's going to be true throughout the activity. So take your time, go through, see what's happening for each graph, and see how these values of a, h, and k can change our parabolas.